And I've complimented him on those things, but there's a process again. It goes to a process of you come to this department, you pay your dues, you do the right things, and if you do those things, people will recognize those things, and you can move up through the ranks, or you can follow any of your aspirations. But in trying to work with him and saying, hey, have you been trained properly? This goes right back to what you're saying, train, coach, and mentor. That's exactly what I did. Hey, did you receive proper training on how to complete our DUI forms? Yes. Okay, well, you're not filling those forms out completely. They're incomplete. The reason why we have this form is because this form is the department's approved form. And it needs to be filled out correctly because of my experience in working DUIs and having to testify in court and having to testify in defense attorney interviews. Is this form is there for this reason. And we went through all of that. His only response to me was, well, did you get the forms that I gave to Danny? And I said, no, I didn't get them. Danny's not a supervisor. And
so Robert went through a very intensive process to get here today, and I just want to tell you a little bit about that. So he went through a local panel, which included myself and former police chief Rodney Head. And
at this point, I don't care what those forms are. They're KPD forms. I said, I need you to follow these forms. There's a process we can go about in getting, your ideas and stuff. But look, the appearance clearly down the road is that he just went up and went around everybody rather than work with people directly and say, hey, I got some ideas here. Not one time has he ever come to me before that or even after. Why? I have no idea.
Discharge the duty of Chief of Police right to the best of my ability.
I've never had a slight word with him. I actually thought maybe there's something, maybe there's some opinion he has of me based on what people have said about me, like the lies they tell, right? Not to trust me, whatever. He's on Marv's squad. I could be totally speculating here, but it's not that far-fetched when I think about it now. But ultimately, I said, I'll let Sean handle it. Maybe there's a conflict between him and I. And I'm okay with that too. I don't have an ego. It doesn't have to go through me. As long as the work gets done. Sean tried to work with him, no dice. I went to Ed because my alternatives were like you said in the staff meeting. What did I do? I trained, coached, and mentored. Didn't work. Could I have written them up? Yes. I also know I worked in IA for a lot of years. We can burden the hell out of you by writing every little stupid thing up, or we can try to manage it.
I agree.
Right? So I tried to manage it. It didn't work. Went to Ed. Said, Ed, it's really not my guy. Ed met with Marv numerous times and with Ed Espinoza. And Espinoza just doesn't want to follow the program. And, that's a pattern. He's not following the program with this testing process now. And yet we're giving him these privileges. I think teaching at the academy is a privilege. It's absolutely not a right.
I agree.
And, but he has a ton of privileges to teach, and I don't think he should. I don't think that he appropriately follows basic instructions. And the testing process is one of those. So it's just there's a lot of I guess we'll just call it hearsay because stuff circulates that he's the golden one too. I mean, rumors that he goes up to your office. I mean, guess what? If he does that and there's nothing else behind it, so be it. I'm not saying that he can't go up to you and say hi. If you have a friendship with him or whatever, I think that you were maybe his RTO in the academy for all I know. Or yeah, I'm sorry, but you get the point. There's obviously going to be some relationship there. But that's where I think, and I'm telling you this, maybe just kind of lines can get blurred really easy amongst the troops over there. I've worked with all of these people, you know, I've worked in every area of this police department, and I have worked on and spent a lot of time in patrol in different facets. And you have as well. You worked over there. You know how things and how quickly things can spiral, right? And I think that some of this stuff can be limited if we...
I'll have to admit I was a little surprised when Brian retired. I wasn't that surprised when Rod retired because he told me like 2 years in advance, like, hey, buddy, put this date on the calendar. I'm done. But Brian surprised us a little bit. And so we said, well, what do we do now? And good for us, we had Trebes DeSantis, who was in the captain's chair at the time. And I said, hey, Dennis, would you mind serving? And he said, oh, by the way, I'm retiring too.
I didn't personally care for Brian's open door policy. I think it created more problems than good in some cases, because I've had many conversations where he's trying to figure out about certain rumors and stuff, which of course I've never heard, but he had certain people that would come to him and tell him things that in my opinion just were absolutely not true, you know, and but he trusted certain people and you know, I think he did that for, I don't know, for his own, maybe what he viewed as his own protection. But I think there's some, in many cases, the wrong people came to him, because I would tell him, I have never heard that. And maybe that's for a reason, but I don't know where that's come, you know, and I can't be specific on a thing, but that would happen. Like, I don't know. I think it's a fine line to have people running over to commanders, you know, in the chief's office and trying to pitch themselves or pitch their ideas. I think they, you know, Espinoza, and just going back to the case of Espinoza, and I've said this to Marv since, you know, in spite of all of these things that you know I'm angry about, I still work with those people. I know Emilio has spoke negatively about me and lied about me, and he works for me, and you will never find one example of where I have treated him inappropriately, because I can be professional and still, hey, we just went through bias training. I learned things from it. You know, we can have our biases. It's whether or not we carry those biases out in a negative way.